We're going for a drive. The boss wants to see you.
Betty becomes an accessory after the fact in a murder, and Archie is welcomed into the Lodge family. Let's break down Season 2, Episode 13 of Riverdale, titled The Telltale Heart, here on What Happened. What's going on, y'all? Lisa here, and I have a question for you. Do Riverdale fans have a name? Like, is there a name for the fandom of this show? I feel like we all have been doing this together for a while, so there should be a name, and I might be out of the loop if there is one, so if there is one, let me know down in the comments. Anyway, so this week's episode showed us the aftermath of the murder at the Cooper house and continued the drama with Archie and Agent Adams. Now, this wasn't my favorite episode, and I won't lie, I may have dozed off a few times, but that could also just be due to the fact that I am running on 3 hours of sleep right now because I had a lot to do on Wednesday. Either way, I know that Chic is f***ing creepy and needs to stop his little woe is me act, and that I am actually really shipping FP and Alice after this episode. As for the Cliff Notes version of this week's episode, it's called The Telltale Heart because, like the story, Betty is haunted by the murder that happened in the house that she helped clean up. She keeps thinking this guy must have a family, and it kind of freaks her out that Chic and Alice act like nothing has happened. It finally gets to her, and she spills the beans to Jughead, who in turn helps her get rid of the dead guy's car, and then eventually they enlist FP to get rid of the body for good. Cheryl finds out about Hal and Penelope having an affair, and she tells Betty, who in turn uses that info to get Hal to leave Chic alone. As for Archie, Agent Adams continues to hound him, and he's becoming more aggressive throughout the episode. Even though Adams said that Fred would be protected, he still threatens Fred for employing undocumented workers. Archie's so devoted to Hyrum and the lodges, though, that he ends up spilling the beans to Hyrum about Agent Adams. It's ultimately revealed that Agent Adams isn't actually Agent Adams, he's one of the boss's capos. And by the way, Archie's pretty shocked to learn that Hermione is the boss, not Hiram. Turns out everything with Agent Adams was a test for Archie, and he passed.
Welcome to the family, Archie.
Oh, Archiekins, you are now officially in way over your head. Are you now part of the mob? Before I get to the more detailed recap of this episode, I just wanted to give a shout out because a lot of you commented on last week's episode recap about recognizing Ben, who was supposedly at the Cooper house to give Chic his hand job interview. So shout out to Tara Goodrich, who was the first person to comment that I saw about this, and she pointed out that Ben was the same kid who worked at the drive-in and was the same kid that Miss Grundy seduced the night she was murdered. Now, I have thick glasses, I'm pretty blind, and a bad short-term memory, so I didn't catch that when it first aired and I first watched the episode, but this is actually kind of interesting. I think it confirms that Chic is some form of the Black Hood, and maybe Ben is his accomplice. Like, Chic sent Ben to seduce Miss Grundy so Chic would know where she was and could catch her in the act and have a reason to kill her. Chic is just all kinds of creepy, and who knows if he even is who he says he is, which I will talk more about after I recap this episode. So, let's get it started. This episode picks up with Betty returning home to find Alice trying to clean up Chic's bloody mess. Alice says multiple times in this episode she doesn't want the police to come because she thinks they'll take Chic away and she can't have that happen, so Betty tells Alice to let her help, but Alice doesn't want Betty involved. When Hal calls Betty to say he's coming over to get some toiletries, yeah, their butts are put in the gear and Alice has to change her mind, and it's like she and Betty are filming an audition scene to join the Sunshine Cleaning sequel. They finish cleaning up just in time, but Hal suspects something's wrong because the house reeks of bleach, and he returns to Penelope's to say something is up and they're hiding something. Betty and Alice then drag the body to an abandoned sewer pipe that Alice says used to be her secret place when she was a little girl. I now want to know what kind of kid Alice was that she was hanging out in these abandoned sewers that she knows is a good place to hide a body. Yeah, she was probably a little troublemaker, right? Anyway, Betty voices her concern over this dead dude probably having a family or something. She's feeling guilt, but Alice just tells her not to worry because this dude didn't even have a wallet on him. They return home and continue cleaning anything they think this guy could have touched, including the bowl of apples. Betty passes out after a shower, and the next morning she comes downstairs to what looks like a scene straight out of Leave It to Beaver. Alice has cooked up piles of chocolate chip pancakes for, I feel like, 50 people, even though there's just her and Chic sitting there, and they act like nothing has happened. Betty, on the other hand, she is feeling the effects of this murder, and she starts having flashbacks and like a panic attack, especially when there's a knock on the door, which causes her to drop her cereal bowl. But thankfully, it is just Jughead who wants to walk her to school, because the night before, after they were caught in the throes of passion, Juggy called to say goodnight and I love you to Betty, but Betty just kind of brushed him off and hung up, but We know it's because she had dead bodies on the brain. Jughead, though, thinks she may have been short with him because maybe he just wasn't good in the sack. Betty, though, says he was amazing, so I guess we got that, right?
You can do it! You can do it all night long!
Then at school, Kevin tells them that there was another murder in town, and Archie and Betty both immediately start asking questions, wondering if it was a body that they had something to do with. Betty is off the hook though, but now she's starting to panic even more. Side note, we hear Jughead drop the name Black Hood in this scene, so I feel like that will come up again later in this season. Back to Betty though, after hearing Kevin talk about the murder, Betty is literally sick to her stomach and throws up in the bathroom. Cheryl is there to offer some help, but Betty brushes her off, and it's kind of nice to see this softer side of Cheryl again. Betty goes back to the sewer pipes to check on the body, make sure it's still there, and she ends up taking the dead dude's phone, which she hears ringing, and discovers he has like 40 plus missed calls. Back in her room, she discovers that this dude is Chic's drug dealer, and she confronts Chic about lying about who this dude was, and of course, Chic being the, I don't know, psychopath, sociopath, whichever he is, or all of the above, I can never remember the difference. He's definitely up to something because he just starts putting on what definitely is like the act like a puppy dog face, like I'm a victim being hurt in the corner as Betty is yelling at him. Betty isn't buying this act though, but Alice keeps defending her dear Chic.
What's done is done, Elizabeth. The only family that you should be worried about is your own.
Ugh, that smile is just so freaking creepy. I'm sorry, I'm sure Hart Denton is a nice guy, but his face for this show, it just gives me chills, but I guess that means it's good casting, right? Meanwhile, over at the Blossom house, Katniss Blossom, Cheryl, is practicing her archery when she spots Hal getting into his car, so she confronts Penelope, who tells Cheryl that Hal isn't just one of her clients. What they have is actually real, which makes me wonder if Hal and Penelope have had an affair before, because Hal hasn't really been staying with them that long. When Hal returns to the house later, Cheryl tells him to go home because he's destroying his family, and if he doesn't, she'll tell Betty what he knows. Betty continues her quest to see if this dead dude has any family, so she calls a bunch of numbers on his phone, but everyone keeps hanging up on her because, well, it's the phone of a drug dealer. She does get an earful though from this guy's girlfriend, wife, whatever she is, who is now obviously his ex. She then calls Jughead, who comes over, and Betty comes clean to him, and they learn that the dead dude's car is parked across the street, and if they don't move it, it's gonna get towed. So Jughead says it's his, and Betty then hotwires it, and they push it into the river, and they also throw in the guy's phone. Meanwhile, Hal returns home to only find Chic there, and Chic acts like he owns the house and tries to not let Hal in, which does not sit well with Hal because it's still Hal's house. It's like single white female, but like the single white male version, obviously. Chic then sends a text to Betty just as Cheryl is trying to tell Betty about Hal and Penelope. Betty then returns home where Hal is accusing Chic of stealing things, and he also points out the smell of bleach and the missing rug and lamp. Betty then tells Hal to get out or she'll tell Alice about Penelope. Meanwhile, Chic is once again putting on his victim act in the corner. Hal ends up leaving and Chic is all like, "Oh, thank you, Betty," but she says she did it for Alice, not for him. Betty then tells Alice she told Jughead, and they go to seek help from the one and only FP, who vows to not make the same mistake with this body as he did with Jason Blossom. FP goes and buries the drug dealer's body and pours sodium hydroxide on it to dissolve it. Now, as he's finishing covering up the body though, it seems like he pauses, like he either recognized the guy or saw something on the body or in the rug or something that kind of like set something off with him, because why would he like pause there? We don't actually see if FP finishes closing up the grave, but he then goes to meet Alice, Jughead, and Betty at Pops, and there's a little FP Alice moment.
And that she pulled Jughead into this.
I seriously just want more backstory on Alice's life as a serpent and the deal with her and FP. Like, we saw in a flashback, right, when Alice was talking about getting pregnant, that she was telling Hal, and they were in high school. So how did those two meet if Alice is from the Southside? I don't know, but this storyline ends with Chic looking through family photos and cutting Hal out of one. Let's move on to Jughead and FP versus Hyrum. FP returns home from dispensing of Tallboy, and he wants to sit down with the mayor to give her Pickens' head and discuss, maybe a treaty, some kind of thing, but FP ends up learning that Jughead sent the head to the lodges, and the lodges think this is a declaration of war with the serpents. Veronica thinks though that before war breaks out, they need to try to negotiate with the serpent. At school, she tells Jughead that he and FP should sit down with Hyrum and hash things out, and Jughead agrees as long as Hyrum comes to the trailer park to see just what he's doing to these families. Before the sit down with Hiram, Jughead confronts Mayor McCoy once again and points out how the trailer park, Southside High, and the drive-in are all town land, meaning that the mayor controls them. So he says if Hiram has his hands in this and she's accepting donations from Hiram in exchange for favors like land deeds or whatever, she should really come clean about this. Hiram and Veronica then meet with FP and Jughead at their trailer and they almost strike a deal for peace, but it's nixed when Hiram says that he wants his name kept out of Jughead's expose, and Jughead is all like, that is not happening, dude. Now on to our mob family and Archie. So Agent Adams is still grilling Archie about the death of Papa Poutine. Archie continues to say he doesn't know anything. At school, Archie once again ignores a call from Agent Adams, and then Kevin comes in to tell them about the murder. Veronica tells Archie that she thinks Hiram could be behind this because of the actual way the murder was done, and she's worried that she's now dragged Archie in too far. And it feels like this girl is honestly saying this to Archie every single episode in that same classroom. Like, whose classroom is that? In a kind of surprise move, Archie defends Hiram, saying that Hiram has to be innocent and is a good guy. Like, what Kool-Aid is Archie really sipping on here? Like, he must be in love with Veronica if he's gonna believe that Lodges are a good family. Archie does meet with Agent Adams later, and Archie's given an envelope with a sweet stack of hundreds in it, like a thick one, which is payment for being an informant. Although I don't think Archie really deserves this because he hasn't really informed Agent Adams of anything. Agent Adams then says it's also to help push Archie to go confront Hiram about Papa Poutine directly, which Archie does, and Hiram chalks Poutine's murder up to a long list of enemies and debt that Poutine owes. Archie then says he's actually there because Veronica is worried Hiram is involved, and Hiram says that he isn't, but he goes to clear things up with Veronica anyway. She asks if he had anything to do with the death flat out, to which he replies, "No, I did not." But pretty sure you should never trust a word that comes out of the mouth of a Lodge, and I don't think Veronica even trusts her dad. Archie returns to Agent Adams to tell him that Hiram had nothing to do with it, but maybe Poutine's death is connected to the debt he owed to a guy named Lenny. That information proves to be false, so Agent Adams decides to shake Archie up a little by targeting Fred. Adams now wants Archie to go plant a bug in Hiram's office so Adams can do the rest of the work, and Archie is left struggling with what to do about that. Meanwhile, Veronica overhears a fight between her parents and the mayor and learns that since Jughead is writing that expose, Hiram and Hermione have decided to accelerate their timetable to announce the plans for Southside High. The mayor is not happy about this and wanted them to wait until after her re-election, or she threatened to expose them, and now the Lodges think there's only one solution to this problem: force the mayor out of office in a cloud of scandal. Veronica takes this information and makes a move of her own and goes to warn the mayor that her parents know about the affair with Sheriff Keller and that the mayor can actually get ahead of this and get out cleanly if she controls the narrative. So the next thing we see is the mayor make a public announcement saying she's resigning to spend more time with her family and return to her legal career. Hiram knows something is up though, and it seems like someone warned the mayor, or I guess I should call her Sierra now, and he asks Veronica if she had something to do with all of this, to which Veronica quotes Hiram his own words back saying, "No, I did not." Touché. Now back to Archie and that bug. To plant it or not to plant it? Archie chooses ultimately to not plant it and instead kind of be a snitch and tell Hiram everything about Agent Adams and what he's been making him do. Archie makes sure to emphasize multiple times though that he did not tell Agent Adams anything about Hiram. Hiram says he believes Archie and that he and Fred will be just fine, so Archie gets to breathe a sigh of relief for at least a second. There's then a knock on the door at Archie's house, and it's Andre, the Lodge's driver, who tells him the boss wants to see him. Andre then drives Archie out into the middle of nowhere, what looks like the edge of a cliff, I believe, and it's revealed that the boss is not Hiram, but Hermione. She reveals that they've been testing Archie the past few weeks, and Agent Adams has been that test. That guy is not really an FBI agent, but just one of her capos. She told him to apply more pressure and threaten Fred to see if Archie would crack, and, well, Archie passed her test, and she says, "Welcome to the family." And Archie just kind of has this look on his face like, oh shit, what did I just get myself into? And, well, that wraps up the events of this episode. I don't think it really shocked anyone to learn that Agent Adams was not an FBI agent. Now I'm just worried what Hermione and Hiram are going to have Archie doing now that he's kind of in the family, and I'm sure what they're going to have him do might be behind Veronica's back. We'll have to see just how far Archie's loyalty goes and to who it goes too. Chic is also definitely up to something. Like, I know there's some theories floating around that maybe he's not even the real Chic and he just took the real Chic's life over to be a part of the Cooper family because he's obsessed with them, which just gives me a lot of One Tree Hill Derek vibes, and I don't know if I'm for that happening on this show. I am curious though to see if the connection with Ben is important or just a coincidence. If the Black Hood does come back and Chic is that Black Hood, it makes sense for him to be sending, Ben around to do his dirty work or to help him. Also, why did FP stare at that body in the grave like that? And what are Hiram and Hermione doing with Southside High? What is this Sodale project? I feel like we were so close to maybe finding something out, so I kind of wish the mayor had agreed to their deal. But alas, we're just gonna have to wait longer to figure out why they need those 3 plots of land. Now let's take a look at the promo for the next episode.
The point of this luxury weekend is to relax and unplug.
I credit you with a lot of things, but being cruel is not one of them.
Midge is bad open-minded. Yeah, she knows all about us.
Clearly, you're in a lot of pain.
Feel free to tremble.
I might have to punish you.
It's like the 4 of us are in a powder keg. All it would take is one match and we'd all blow up.
Alright, next episode seems steamy, dramatic, and juicy. Like nothing good ever happens with teens in a hot tub, right? Well, Cheryl and Tony seem like they're conversing in the bathroom, so is this the beginning of Choni or Terrell? What do we call them? Choni, I think it is, right? Also, Jughead and Veronica kissing, like what is that about? Because it's right in front of Archie and Betty. Is this maybe payback because of the Archie and Betty kiss, or is it a game of truth or dare, or someone just pissed off? And we also learned that Betty's pretty kinky. She's bringing her dark-haired, dark Betty wig to Jughead in bed. That should be interesting. But I think that's going to do it for this recap. Sorry if this is a rambling one. My brain is still running on empty, so I have no clue really what I'm saying, and I can't think of any more theories or anything that I missed. So if you saw something that looked important or looks like an Easter egg or something, let me know down in the comments. That's why I like doing this, to hear from you guys. You find what I miss. Hopefully I find something you miss. Who knows? It's just fun to talk together. Also, let me know your favorite and least favorite moments from this episode and any theories or answers to the questions I asked about a minute ago. As always, thank you for hanging out with me. Check out some more of my recaps and reviews right over here. Hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. I'm Lisa. Peace out.